and unbelievable leadership skills. So we thank our Maker to guide us, help us achieve our goal, and also help our fellow members and the community at large. I think all of us, each one of us, make a difference when you take these skills to workplaces, at home, or the community. With the, again, name of the God, we say Amen.
Amen. May we begin with the pledge also, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and to
the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
God, indivisible,
with
with
liberty.
liberty and justice for all.
Amen.
This morning we have a wonderful meeting planned for everyone. And before we begin, are there any announcements? I think Ryan might have one this morning in regards to Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Larry. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests. This coming May 14th, just a few days before the possible, hypothetical, probably not date of the lifted quarantine, we're going to be hosting our spring open house. The spring open house is going to be themed the Not Quite Back to Work open house. We're looking to get people to join the Zoom meeting with us, and in that spirit, what we're going to do and attempt to do today is be a little bit artistic with the members that we have to create a sign of the Zoom meeting, to represent the Zoom meeting that's going on, and each one of us will hold up one of the words, and then we will get screenshots throughout the day. We will get help create this. There we go. See, everybody's getting in the spirit. We'll get screenshots throughout the day, and I'm going to create and tag them all together to add in a little bit of fun to create a flyer that spells out the please join us for our Not Quite Back to Work spring open house. So as we go throughout the meeting, if you guys could hold up the signs intermittently so I can get screenshots, I'm going to take the best screenshots from all those signs. And then at the end of the meeting, those that hang on and stay with us, I would greatly appreciate that. We'll make sure we fill in any blanks with the signs that we don't have. If you have any questions, feel free to chat me. Feel free to chat Larry. Feel free to chat Kate or Eric. We were all together joining the meeting, so they should all have the same information. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys for participating, for helping, and let's see what we can create.
And if your video is mirrored, you want to turn that off so that it looks proper up there?
Yes.
If you hold it up and it looks backward, we can't use it.
Good point, Len. Are there any other announcements before we turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster this morning? Without further ado, please welcome our Toastmaster of the day, Thomas Heldwine.
Good morning, everybody. Wow, I don't even know what to say. New technology, right? Well, today's meeting is the plans for what we're going to do after quarantine ends. So I'd like to start off with a toast. Everyone get your beverage. And I'd like to toast everyone here. Thank you for having a group that we can get together and, get together every week and enjoy each other's company and hear stories and tell each other great speeches to all of us. Okay. So we have individual plans for when we reopen the country, and we're each going to want to do different things. Right now, there are 8 states that are partially open, and as of today, either early in the morning or at the end of the day today, 10 more states plan to open. So we'll have approximately 40% of the country open, and we'll be able to see what occurs in those states, as states like New York are going to be waiting another 2 weeks before phase 2. Phase 1 starting next week, I believe. So what to expect? I can tell you, traveling overseas and being away in another country for more than 2 weeks. Now yesterday was day 45 of the 15-day lockdown. When you start to drive again, that is going to be a skill that has waned. So my word of caution is, if you have not driven this entire 45 days, please, please go around the block, drive like you're a new driver, get used to the brakes, get used to where the controls are in the car, your turn signals. There will most probably be quite a few car accidents or more car accidents when people begin to come back out and use an automobile for the first time in months. Okay. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and start introducing the people with roles for the meeting today. First, I want to thank Samir for the invocation and thank Larry for hosting the meeting so that they are not forgotten. The first one on the list is our word master, and that should be Jen. Jen, can you tell us about your role today?
I sure can. I'm the word master, and I'm going to give you the word unite, partially because it's an antonym of quarantine, and partially because it's something that I'm sad we haven't done more of. In the past, I've seen our country come together after natural disasters, after wars, and I've been really sad to see that during all of this, I feel like the country's been more divisive. I would unite, which means come together as a single unit. And I will put that in the chat, or Kate already did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jen. Our next role is going to be filled by one of our newer members, the Master. That's Alexis. Alexis, what will you be doing during today's meeting?
I'm the master, and I'll be counting the ahs, pregnant pauses, and all the use of filler words.
All right. Thank you very much. Grammarian is still a role that's open. Do we have any volunteers or anyone who would like to double up? When no one volunteers, does that fall on the Toastmaster? Now I'm grammarian too, or what?
I can do
Tom?
grammarian, gesture
Okay.
master, and I could do the two of them.
I was going to say, Tom, I could do it. Phil here.
Okay,
let-
Phil.
That way we'll have them all filled. There's no duplication of roles.
All right. Thank you, Phil.
All right.
I'm writing it down. All right. For an interjection of some humor this morning, our gesture is going to be Larry Agger. Larry, make us laugh.
Morning. I tried to find some jokes for COVID. That's pretty difficult to do nowadays, but I did find a few things. So bear with me here. There will be a minor baby boom in 9 months. One day in 2033, we shall witness the rise of a new generation. Does anybody know what that new generation is going to be called? Quarantines. No, I have bad. Yeah, they get worse. Stay tuned. If you need over 100 rolls of toilet paper for a 14-day quarantine, you probably should have been seeing a doctor long before COVID-19.
Oh.
Just saying. And the last one, I won't kill you with any more. Message from Korea. We are the third biggest country hit with the coronavirus, and we still have toilet paper. The moral of the story for the people of the United States is Americans are idiots. That's all I have, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Our quote master for today was filled earlier in the week by Jackie. Kenny, not Kennedy. I made that mistake before. Jackie Kenny. Our mom, please let us know the quote of the day. Is Jackie not on?
I haven't seen her yet.
Our mom is not here? Oh no. Well, she may be up late. She may be joining later. I won't take away her thunder. We'll come back. If she comes on, we'll come back and let her give a quote of the day.
She just text messaged me. She's looking for the link. I'll send it to her.
Okay, I'll circle back around to her before we finish, and she'll introduce last. Excellent. Our timer for today is going to be Gerald Stevens. Gerald, please talk about your role.
Morning, fellow Toastmasters. My role today is timer. Everything in Toastmasters should be timed. We don't want to go blathering on forever and ever, and we have to keep a timely meeting. Hopefully we can unite our efforts in regards to the speakers and myself, coordinating the time. And I will be timing table topics. It'll be from 1 minute, 3 seconds to 2:30. Normally speeches are 5 to 7 minutes, and the evaluations 2 to 3 minutes. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Gerald. Our gesture master this morning is Ishmael. Ishmael, please explain your role.
Good morning, everybody. So I have the privilege and the honor to pay extra close attention to everyone and make sure that you're using as much of your body and your face as you can to express what it is that you're saying. Give us life this morning, and I will give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see Samir. Is Samir here?
I have not seen him.
Oh, okay, because he had confirmed for Quizmaster. Does someone who pays very close attention want to come up with 2 or 3 questions or more for the end of the meeting to see, make sure everyone
Campus
pays
wants to
close
step
attention?
up for that.
Our guest?
I think Mark Campus would like to do that.
I'm sorry, what did Len volunteer me for?
Quizmaster.
Sure, why not? I will gladly accept that opportunity. Thank you, Len.
No problem. Keep you off of my my table topics too.
That works.
I think Jackie is online, so I don't know if you want to.
Oh, there she is. Our mom has joined us. Mom, are you there?
I apologize for my late arrival.
Would you please give us our quote of the day, please?
Our quote of the day is, oh, now I can't find it. Give me a minute.
All right, we stand united behind you.
All right.
All right, while I'll do a quick joke that I heard recently. Why is Alaska one of the first states that's going to be opening? Because they're isolated.
Oh.
Ooh.
Okay. A goal without a plan is just a wish. Or, by failing to prepare, you are preparing to fail, which all of us in Toastmasters know very well. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Jackie always has nice quotes. I had no clue what day it was when my alarm went off this morning, except I have a different tone for Thursdays. And it's an hour earlier. So on Thursday mornings, it's a nice little happy song. Do 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 do. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm Toastmaster this morning. So I go over the computer, and luckily Sunday I had printed off the agenda at that point, had checked Zoom, made sure that was working on my computer, and still no luck getting the camera to work. But I did figure out how to place my camera of my phone above, and I figured I could sign in twice. So all that worked out, but knowing what day it is fairly important. As you may know, I'm still working at the VA hospital, and this weekend we had a major water leak, and I ended up working Saturday and part of Sunday to fix that and clean that up. So it became a little bit of a hectic schedule to make sure that I had enough time. But luckily, I have a special alarm set for Toastmasters. And if you don't, I'm going to say you should. Pick a nice, happy song so you get up in the right mood every Thursday and join us here at Toastmasters AM Lockport. With that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our table topics. Table topics is off the cuff, 1 to 2 minute speech on the subject of choice from our table topics master, Leonard Thornton, this morning. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce him and pass it over to Leonard Thornton. Thank you for doing this morning, Leonard.
Thank you, Tom. Welcome, Toastmasters, and our guests joining us. Okay, many things have changed since this quarantine. Some people are still going to their jobs. They're essential workers. The rest of us are just non-essential. Not to trivialize our participation in this society, but I guess it's the haves and the have-nots. But we are all united in our fear of just how bad this is going to get or when we're going to return to normal. When we do return to normal, we'll have time to think back and reflect on what this quarantine was all about. Ryan, what will you miss most about this period, this quarantine period? Take it away, Ryan.
The new normal. I think that's something that a lot of us have become perhaps more comfortable with than we initially expected. I have a lot less of a commute to work. I think that's the number one thing that most of us would respond with is our commuting time. I'm going to miss being able to wake up, come downstairs, turn on the coffee, watch it, percolate, and then at the end of that, uniting the warm, refreshing, heartwarming, delicious elixir of life with my Omegang 32-ounce mug, and then walking directly back up those stairs into my office. It's probably the nicest commute I've ever had. And I'm going to miss having to go back to a 25-minute each way in my car, in traffic, just to go to work. And so I've actually been working on a plan to work from home a couple days a week in the future once this lifts. It's done a lot to keep me closer to my wife. We've done more walks with the dog. We've had chance for more sit-down meals. We've had the opportunity to unwind a little bit faster. At the end of the day, I'm not driving home. We're doing a little bit of housework, exercise, just a couple more opportunities to talk and actually connect with people. It's a very different way of life, but I'm going to miss when we go back to normal. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Ryan. I saw a poll recently that suggested that 24% of people who are working from home because of the quarantine are comfortable with it and would like to keep it that way. So I guess the motto is don't invest in commercial real estate. There's going to be a lot fewer people working at the office when this is all over. One thing I really miss about this quarantine and this shelter in place is bowling. Thursday night was always bowling for me, and now I have that time to fill, and that lack of social interaction and alcohol consumption. It's really crimping my schedule here, but we'll get through this united. Our next contestant, Tracy. Tracy, there's certain foods we just don't prepare at home, or certain restaurant experiences that are a regular part of our lives. What do you miss most, either a food or a restaurant that's been forced you to go without during this quarantine? Tracy.
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. I can't say there's a particular food or restaurant that I miss, but I have noticed during this quarantine, I do miss going out to restaurants and having dinner out. And it's not just because I don't want, I used to think I wanted to go out to dinner because I didn't feel like cooking dinner that night. But now I'm sort of noticing it's more of a social experience, going into a restaurant, relaxing, sitting down, being able to just sit and talk and relax, see the people inside the restaurant and enjoy conversation and not have to worry afterwards about cleaning up the mess and doing dishes. It's a nice ride home or to the movies afterwards. So I really think just going to a restaurant, especially a local restaurant in Lockport where you do know everybody when you go out, just going there, sitting, relaxing, and enjoying the atmosphere, a different meal that I wouldn't cook myself, and the company that I'm with. One of my favorite restaurants, and we've been talking about this a lot, is I like going into Barker. It's called Mix-Ins. And it's just a little bar, but they have homemade ice cream made out of alcohol, either beer or wine. It's just kind of different and interesting. So those are the things I miss. Something different and interesting. Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Okay, Tracy. Carol, I think all of our routines have changed in this past month or so. What's been the biggest change to your routine? And are you looking forward to it changing back, or has it been a good change? Len.
Who did he ask for table topics?
Carol.
Carol?
Hi.
There you
go.
I'm here. My routine, since I'm retired, my routine really hasn't changed too much. The things I do miss are getting out, like to Toastmasters, book club, and different things that I go to, like involved with the church. But I know being home, and also my just two of my daughters still live at home, so just spending more time with family and doing some things with the grandchildren, and just and I thought I would read a lot more, but sometimes I just sit kind of mindlessly watching TV. But it certainly will be nice to get out and be united with friends again. Mr. Table Topics.
Thank you, Carol. At this point, may I please have a timer's report, Dr. Gerald Stevens?
Mr. Table Topics Master, and our guests. I'm happy to say that all of our Table Topics participants did qualify. Ryan at 202, Tracy at 135, and Carol with the buffer at 128. They were united in their efforts to qualify for this award today. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Gerald. And may we have a word report. Jen, did all our contestants use Unite today?
I did hear Ryan and Carol use the word. Tracy, did you use it? Okay, I'm sorry. I was trying to hold it up, but it was backwards, and I was trying to figure out how to fix my camera, so I apologize there. So Ryan and Carol both used it.
Okay, looks like we have 2 qualified contestants for Table Topics. Please cast your vote for Ryan or Carol on the little survey that's popping up right now. And Larry will make that disappear soon. Mr. Toastmaster.
Much applause. Thank you so much for appropriate table topics. Made me think about how everyone is either in one of 2 camps. Either you're so busy that you're taking on different projects. I know a bunch of our members are making masks. They're looking for unobtainium, which is the elastic. And we even joked about using elastic from old clothing, some appropriate, some not so appropriate. But that was a good idea to at least go back to old used clothing to maybe look for it. The other set of people is probably the people who are so bored, they're getting up to no good. They're probably eating too much. They're probably not exercising. They're probably letting their brain slowly turn to jelly. And of course, the old saying is idle hands are the devil's work. That is true for me. If I have nothing to do, I usually get up to no good. I'll start playing a video game, and then before I know it, it's 2 a.m. And that is just not a good thing. But what I do like is having table topics and other things where people can actually talk about what they're doing, and we can share, and we can stand united and work to get things to do or think about. And there are so many extra meetings. I want to give a special shout out to Eric, who doesn't look like he's on right now, but he's definitely been attending a dozen meetings like a week, it seems like. So, and Larry as well. He's spending a lot of meetings as well. I don't want to leave him out.
Thanks, Tom.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for letting us know about all those additional meetings and attending other group meetings and inviting them back here so that they can see our meeting and attend. I appreciate it very much.
No problem.
Thank you for using your time for good things. Okay, so normally evaluators do introduce the speaker, or it can be the Toastmaster himself. I prefer it if it is the evaluator, but if the evaluator's not able to, I will. The first evaluator is Mike Licata. Mike Licata, are you able to introduce our first speaker?
Good morning, Mr. Toastmaster. I am able to introduce our first speaker this morning. I have to thank Deborah Franco. She was very much prepared for her speech this morning, even putting all the information on the website. So Deb Franco is speaking out of level 2 of the Pathways Project. The purpose of this project is to begin developing a collection of humorous stories and to present a speech that includes humor. Mr. Timer, the time is 5 to 7 minutes this morning, and I do believe she put her title in on the website as well.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Thomas. You know, I'm going to address some of the things that you brought up, Thomas. And I can't say that it's all humorous, but there is a little spot here and there that could be. Today, I'm going to talk about where we are, overcoming where we are, and a tip into leaving where we are. Weird times. Being from Buffalo, we're all used to being snowbound for a few days here and there, or even up to a week. We've experienced driving bans, we've experienced empty shelves, and the unexpected. And now we have this. The fact that it's global is what's so mind-boggling. This is not just a snowstorm. This is not just Buffalo. It's not just the United States, it's everywhere. Our entire world has been put on pause at the same time. The results have brought different levels of suffering. For some, it seems like it's just an inconvenience or annoyance as it interrupts our lives. For others, it's a lot more than that. There are facts concerning this virus. And there's such speculation coming from the news, recycled social media posts, and hearsay. I'll refer to only one source, and that's directly from the White House briefings. I pretty much stay away from everything else. I stopped watching the news quite a while ago. This continuous speculation becomes so nauseating and leaves many in a state of unrest and fear and worry. The truth is, in the Bible, throughout both the New and Old Testament, tells us not to fear at least 365 times. The first week in quarantine was a struggle. Leaving our routines, unbalanced sleep schedules, adjusting to having our spouse and kids in the house 24/7, adjusting on how we shop and pulling out old relaxing sweatpants. The following week, we said, okay, this does not look like it's going to lift too soon. Getting a glimpse of how we can fall into bad habits of, Ryan, overeating, over-drinking, lack of exercise, oversleeping, or over binge watching Netflix. When the quarantine sweatpants come up, are we going to like what we see? I'm supposed to meet up with a few friends. And let me see if I can share that with you. I'm supposed to meet up with a few friends. When the quarantine sweatpants come up, are we going to look like what we want to see? Well, when I meet up with my friends, I don't want to look like this. And I don't know how to get it. So an important question we need to ask ourselves is, who do we want to be at the end of this? Do I want to feel like I've utilized this time moving forward instead of moving backward? During the midst of the situation, I would like to encourage and inspire you in some positive actions that you can take. So number one, although you can't go to the gym, there are plenty of workout floor exercises on Netflix, YouTube, and more. And just go to run or walk or bike. Number two, although it's more difficult to get yourself back on the healthy schedule that you're used to, pre-plan your meals ahead of time. Buy frozen vegetables, frozen fruits. Write everything down that you eat so you can see at the end of the day the nutrition. Although you're bored, for sanity and just to get out of the house, take long walks. Feel the wind in your hair, the fresh air, and the connection with nature. Listening to podcasts, audiobooks may enhance your walks, or take up a new hobby like crocheting, knitting, fixing things around the house, or gardening. Spending quality time with your family during puzzles, Designate a movie night each week. Wii games, dance videos that are fun. Number 4, do loving acts for others. Shopping for an elderly person. Say hi to a stranger next time you go shopping, or when you're walking down the street. They're not expecting it because everybody's covered up. My challenge to you is to utilize this time to grow. And I don't mean with wise. Instead of going to ice cream or making the 4th batch of cookies and bread, instead of going to alcohol each day, instead of binging on Netflix, The Crown or Tiger King, although a few shows here and there are fun. One of my favorites is based in Toronto, actually, and it's called Kim's Convenience. Oh, you have to try it. It's funny. We have to ask ourselves, what are we planning in our heart and mind right now that will start to grow and produce something when all of this is over? If you're only planning Tiger King, you'll be freaking nuts by the end of this. There are some amazing educational and inspirational documentaries on Netflix, Amazon Prime about our history, and this wonderful series, The Chosen, you can find on YouTube. I just watched a Zig Ziglar documentary on Prime that was amazing. There are also some good free download books that are offered on Libby or Hoopla. Whether it's drinking, reading a book, binge watching, or baking, I'd like you to consider this. What are you planting into your heart and mind? What seeds are we putting in? Because a farmer knows that every seed that we plant bears fruit. If you plant corn, you're going to get corn. If you plant wheat, you're going to get wheat. If you plant apple seeds, you're going to get apple trees. We can't plant Tiger King and get Zig Ziglar results. We need to be intentional about the seeds we are planting in our life during this time, because there will be a harvest. And when this is all over, we'll be holding up the mirror and either we'll be really proud of ourselves and the discipline that we had, or we're going to really be disappointed and wish that we should have, could have, or would have. On a same note, it's probably not the time for an overhaul, but a time to make simple, seemingly significant changes. Everyone here is going to look back and remember the 2020 quarantine. How do you want your spouse and children, loved ones, to remember it? There are all good questions to ask yourself. I'm going to leave you with this one last thought / question. Getting back into society, we need to be smart, not fearful. We are called to love one another. The fear is opposite of love. Most of us think it's bravery that's opposite of fear, but it's not. It's love. Which will you choose?
Thank you, Deborah. Okay, I did find out that if you can't see everybody, there's little arrows where you can shift over and see page 202, and Marty is here. Marty, our second speaker, are you ready to introduce our second speaker today?
Toastmasters, I am ready to evaluate Larry McKenzie this morning, and I have his objectives. Larry's objective this morning, hold on one second here.
Marty, you muted yourself. Hello?
Hear me now? Hold on.
Okay, you're all set. Go ahead, Marty.
I got it. Thank you. Sorry about that, guys. This morning it's my pleasure to evaluate fellow Toastmaster McKenzie. And Larry McKenzie is speaking from the Pathways program, Level 3 Storytelling. And his objective this morning is to practice using a story within a speech or giving a speech that is a story. The time is 5 to 7 minutes. Mr. Toastmaster, do you have the title?
Yes, I do. The title of the speech, thank you. I'll bring him in. The title of the speech is Who Would Have Thought? And with that, Larry, please come to the screen.
Thank you, Thomas. Imagine somebody actually stopped the world so that I could enjoy some time at home. Who would have thought? Just 8 weeks ago, running here, there, everywhere, and then all of a sudden, I had the opportunity to turn all of that off. And how did I do that? I was asked to stay at home. During that time, what I've been able to do is I have been able to reflect on a lot of different things that have happened throughout my life. And it's really fun to reminisce and talk to your family and friends about some of those certain things and how things just pop in your mind that you never would have thought of. Has that ever happened to you? Well, it's happened to me lately. One of the things that I remember is back in the early 60s, not to age myself, but in school, we used to have different kinds of drills. One of them was we'd hear this sound, and we'd all run out in the hallway, sit down against the wall, put our knees up, and then put our heads down. We were practicing an air raid. Who would have thought? An air raid? Why are we doing that? Who knows? Then, next thing you know, we're doing fire drills. We're going outside. Why? Who knows? So those are things that happened to me back in the early 60s. And then I reflect and I look at some of the things that are happening today in the schools where they're doing different types of drills, such as active shooters or different things. So the times have changed, but the messages are still there. And what is that message? The message is that you have to prepare, and you always have to be ready for when things happen. It reminds me also back in the early 70s, around 1970, I was planning a trip to Philmont Scout Ranch, which is in Cimarron, New Mexico. And in order to do that, we had to practice for about a year prior to us leaving to go to Philmont. I haven't thought about that in quite a while, but recently, one of our other Toastmasters, Jen, shared a couple of her YouTube videos that she had been doing. One of them showed her walking down into, down by Devil's Hole in the Niagara Falls area, down into the gorge. And it brought back the memory of back in 1968, 69, we were practicing to go to Philmont with our full backpack, and we would hike the trail all the way down. And I haven't walked that path in many, many years. When I saw the video that Jen had put up on YouTube, it brought back that great memory that I hadn't thought about in many, many years. One of the other memories that I recollect and think about with all of what's happening today was during the blizzard of 1977. At the time, I worked at Tops Market in Niagara Falls on Portage Road, and the storm was just about hitting. I had just recently been married in September of the year prior, and I was on my way home, and I got stuck in the snow with my car. The car remained right where it was, and I walked the rest of the way home. I had it parked on the street, about 2 blocks from where I had lived. At the time, we lived in a small apartment and on the 2nd floor. Who would have thought that once the snow and everything had happened, that the 2nd floor, when you looked out the window, would almost look like it was the 1st floor because of the snowbanks. It was quite an interesting time, and I reflect back on that because of the fact that, what did I learn from that? I learned that when you're cloistered in the house and you can't really do a lot, things happen. Matter of fact, in December of that year, my oldest daughter was born. She was a blizzard baby. What I think about now, as I reflect forward with everyone being quarantined, and it was mentioned earlier, are there going to be quarantine babies? I find that to be a little bit difficult because if I remember when I was in school, the anatomy classes, I don't believe social distancing actually would help with there being a baby boom shortly thereafter, this particular pandemic that we're facing. So, but you never know. One of the other things that I really have enjoyed about my time being at home is that I reflect back when I was a young child playing in the neighborhood, and everyone would be outside playing, and then mom would say, "Come on in, it's time for dinner." And we would sit down to dinner every day as a family. And if you weren't there for dinner, there had to be a good reason. In the last 6 to 7 weeks, we have been eating dinner as a family. We've been talking about different things that have happened within our lives. And we're not using our phones to text that to each other. So in full circle, when you're looking and thinking about what is happening in today's world, I look at it with a positive note saying that if we take what we learned from when we were younger through today and reflect, this is a good time for everyone to get back with their families, back with their families, and that family value of work is not the most important thing. It does put food on the table, but if you've noticed, if you haven't been working in the last few weeks, you still have food on the table. To the point of, I have actually gained my COVID-19, and it's in pounds. So who would have thought that this was actually a positive note that has helped me reflect on my past and also on my future? Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Larry. Our third speaker and evaluator are a mother and daughter team. I'm assuming you're going to do some, there you go, you're moving some camera shifting. Okay, great. Katie, can you go ahead and do the introduction for our icebreaker here? Speaker number 3.
Thank you, Thomas. I'm happy to. Can everyone hear me? Can
Yes.
everyone hear me? Okay.
Yes.
All right, great. It is my honor to introduce one of our newest members, my mother, as Thomas mentioned, Beth Banks. Also, please wish her a happy birthday yesterday. This morning, she will be giving her icebreaker from Pathways. Our timer is Dr. Stevens, so you know that we time her so she can know where she's at, but we never disqualify our icebreakers, which can be brief or long. And so my mom, Beth Banks, are you ready there?
I'm ready.
And perfect. Her title, Man Plans, God Laughs. Beth Banks.
Mm-hmm. Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. I'm glad we are united here together in this kind of strange and different way. Yes, man plans. We all plan for things. Sometimes it doesn't work. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Beth Banks. I'm Kate's mom. And what I'm going to talk about is something that we have been working on. And that is, Kate is getting married in the fall. We have been working on a wedding dress. She picked a dress out. This is what she wanted online. Of course, that isn't always easy. I volunteered to make the dress and the underskirt. I'm not going to tell you exactly what they look like, but that is what we're doing. She picked out a tartan dress. When I volunteered, our sentimental side came out so much. I volunteered to make the underskirt from my wedding dress and my mother's wedding dress. So what I did was I took them apart, a little challenging there. And I planned on putting my skirt and then my mother's lace skirt over the top of that for the underskirt. Not a problem. I can do this. I made my wedding dress. I can do this. A little complicated, but hey, God gave me this pause. I have plenty of time. All right. So the first glitch I encountered was I had to take the train off, make it a skirt, and in order to do that, I had to take the lace and the pearls off. As I was doing that, I realized as the pearls were popping off very easily, the thread was disintegrating. Oh dear. I couldn't have Katie walking down the aisle and have seams pop open. So, all right, I can do this. No problem whatsoever. I said, okay, I will re-sew all the seams on the skirt. That isn't a problem. I have a pause. I can do this. And actually, it came together a little slowly, but it came together. And at this point, I have, the skirt, underskirt, about 95% finished. I can finish that in October. That is not a problem. Now for the tartan dress. We ordered the material from Scotland a couple of months ago. It arrived while I was working on the underskirt, but I figured, hey, I can do this. Let's not try to do two things at the same time. Let's just do the underskirt and then work on the dress. All right. Of course, we have the pause. I couldn't just go out and buy the extra supplies. I had to order them from Joann Fabric, hope that I could actually get them. Okay. That was not a problem. It came in, that's fine. I had the part of the ordering of the supplies was ordering material for the lining. So I have that. The lining is in pretty good shape. I've got that done, the lining of the top. I have been a little nervous about the tartan material. This is not easy to reorder, nor cheap, but I could do this. All right. So I have been procrastinating, obviously, with trying to put this material together, but I thought, I'm a little cocky. I can do this. It's a dress. It's a very simple pattern. Not a problem at all. I had my pause. Okay? So I was very fussy. This is the math person side of me coming out, and the tartan's pattern, the white lines particularly, will have to line up. So I laid everything out to line them up carefully so that they would match. Not a problem. Got it all done. Got it finally cut out. That was a little scary for me, given the expense. Cut it all out. I noticed, oh, there's some threads here. All right, I'm okay. So I picked up the 5 pieces. I took them upstairs to my sewing room, extra bedroom, and I started putting them, pinning them together, sewing them, and I looked down. And I realized that my plan really was going awry at this point. There were threads everywhere. The material was disintegrating around me. Little threads. Oh dear, Kate can't walk down the aisle in little threads. I have to put this together. So I sewed the seams that I could, and then I had to stay stitch. For those of you who don't sew, stay stitch means just putting a thread around everything, aligned so that it doesn't continue unraveling to the point of no more. So I had to do that around all the sides of every single piece of material. Oh dear. I can do this. Not a problem. So then I said, okay. And I started to sew. The first seam, oh, those little white lines did not line up like they were supposed to. So I decided I could get them out. I could rip part of the seam apart. For those of you who sew in this unraveling material, do not plan on ever ripping out a seam. It does not work. Unless you want the whole thing to fall apart. Again, I say, okay, I will have to be more careful. I can do this. It's a little more complicated than I thought. Well, at this point, I do have the dress and the lining put together. It does not appear to be totally falling apart, but a few days ago, I decided I need to set this aside for a few minutes, a few days, get some of my patience back again, and come back to it. Sometimes you need to take a deep breath and just do that. So, yes, God, I need a little more patience and the flexibility to adjust my plans when they're not quite going well. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters, and good morning.
Okay, with that, Dr. Gerald Stevens, can you give us a timers report on speakers number 1 and 2?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. I certainly can. I'm happy to say that our speaking participants today all were united in their efforts to reach their goals, except Deb Franco. Deb Franco did not qualify. Larry McKenzie did qualify, 6:58, and Beth, being the icebreaker, was not really timed, but her time was 7:21. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. At this time, I believe there it is. Okay, we can all vote. All right. With that done, we are oh. Hi, Beth.
Hi. Sorry, I'm going back with Kate.
Okay. All right. While she does that, I still don't have focus, but okay. There we go. I have been very impressed with how well everyone has adapted to the new technology and doing Zoom meetings. I have not. This is a very serious struggle, and if you are struggling with me, I want to just say you're not alone.
You're doing great, Thomas.
Okay.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Thank you, Muklas. There are a couple things I definitely need to work on and improve. But I want to say that everyone that is here and is trying, thank you. Everyone who's been offering support, thank you very much. I know that we came together and definitely helped each other out. We reached out to old members a couple weeks ago, brought them in, helped them out. I am just very impressed with this entire group, and I'd like to say thank you. With that, we're going to move into the evaluation portion of our meeting, where we have our evaluators speak. Basically, normally, I believe it's 2 to 3 minutes on the speech and do the sandwich approach of something good, something bad, something good. And I like that approach because it softens the blow sometimes, as much as I love brutal honesty. So going in with speaker number 1, and the evaluator was Mike Licata. Mike Licata, please, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, our guest this morning, and especially Deborah. Deborah, I have to give you a lot of credit. You're very well prepared every time you give a speech. There's true value in listening to your speeches because you often challenge us as well in terms of presenting ideas and helping us become better people through your challenges. I have to give you a lot of credit. As you can obviously see, I have definitely devolved as a person, as a human being, because you're right, it is just easier to slip into quarantine sweats and binge watch. But I have, after about the first 10 days, I did start exercising a little bit more. I found a couple of really good exercises on Amazon Prime that I've been doing. So I want to thank you for reminding the club that there are ways that you can exercise from home. But at the same time, I know this presents its challenges. I felt that your objectives were to speak humorously, to use stories to improve your speech, and you did a little bit when you explained about how you want to meet with friends, and then you put the picture up. But you could have used more humorous stories. I am trying to follow the objectives in terms of what you put on and how you're supposed to progress in pathways. So I think maybe one or two more humorous stories could have been interjected into the speech. I think the other thing you could have done is I know that we're all getting used to this new technology. It's harder to hide reading from notes on online than it is when you're giving a speech in front at Tom's Diner. And I felt that you were reading off of a script and you weren't exactly looking into the camera when you were giving your speech. I know that's a challenge we all face now, given this new reality. So those are some of my suggestions going forward. I want to thank you again to finish with a call to action to unite us as a club, to start thinking about life when this is all over. So I want to thank you for that. I want to congratulate you on getting so far along in pathways as well. It's a challenge for most of us, but you're doing a great job in your preparation and helping leading our club through pathways. And that is all I have this morning, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. Our second evaluator has been feverishly, from watching the camera, writing notes and preparing. So I know he's ready. Go ahead, Marty, as evaluator number 2. Unmute yourself. Marty, unmute yourself.
How's that,
Here we go.
Thomas? Okay,
right.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. Nice to see everyone, especially Larry. The opportunity to evaluate you on your storytelling speech this morning. Just to refresh your memory, Larry's goal this morning was to tell a story within a speech, within 5 to 7 minutes, and he did that. Larry told me that he did have a personal goal, a couple things that he was working on. He wanted to help keep the audience engaged. I was looking for that. And then he wanted to make sure that the stories all tied in when he was making a point. And I feel that he did that. He kept the audience engaged. Right off the bat, in the opening, he came on the screen with his personality, warm personality, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, lively. He invited us and he asked us a question. Who would have thought? And then he got right into his stories and the life lessons learned through storytelling. He told us about the air raid drills in 1960s during wartime. And he connected that to today on how the kids in school have, unfortunately, active shooter drills. He tied that in. And then he talked about the blizzard, which I can definitely remember and relate to. And he tied that into today on how how today, you know, we have a natural pandemic actually with the quarantine, and he told us about, you know, the outcomes of those. You know, people are cooped up in their house, and they had the blizzard babies, and now we have the quarantines. We have quarantine babies, and it really made me, as part of the audience, reflect, as Larry said, on lessons that we learned in life. A couple things to work on, Larry. Although it was a great speech, I feel it could make it even better by using hand gestures to engage the audience when you're talking about the air raid drills. Possibly say, remember when, you know, we got under the desk and we put our hands on our head and our knees underneath and got crouched down. You could do that, and possibly when you're talking about the blizzard and how high the snow was, you say it was high as the window right next to here where I'm sitting. The snow was, you know, high as a second-story window in my house. Maybe a little more with the hand gestures. But overall, Larry, I feel you reached your goals. And keep on working on the storytelling. You're a great storyteller, and you're definitely a benefit for our club. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Marty. And with no delay, we are going to be switching over to our third evaluator of the mother and daughter team this morning. Evaluator number 3. Let's welcome Katie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Can everyone hear me? Okay. So I usually like to make direct eye contact with our evaluators. I find that I would be looking at my mother and not at you, so this is kind of strange in so many ways. Mom, I was a bit nervous, so everyone knows, when I realized just yesterday that I would be evaluating Mom. We've been working on this speech, and you would think that we'd be prepared for this, but she was going to perhaps give it a couple weeks ago or last week, and then things changed, and then I was in the lineup to be the third evaluator. But I thought, you know what, let's keep it that way, and I'm so glad that I did. It's an interesting challenge. I think from the start, it's a great title, Man Plans, God Laughs. Doesn't mean we shouldn't plan, but we should be ready for the laughs. I thought Mom made very good eye contact. Phil Russell and others have mentioned how we speak into our cameras to make eye contact, and I have worked on that. It's such a challenge. I thought she did a fabulous job with no real in-person audience. This is something we all need to work on. That makes me think of her camera angle. I thought it was very clever to stand up. I didn't realize she was going to do that. You may not have noticed, but she was standing. The angle then was different. Like the camera angle, Mom, you could improve, I think, because you were looking down a bit. So maybe we can tweak that, and I'll help adjust. The angle is something we all can be working at. I think those of you who know me know another improvement my mom could work on would be speed. And I clearly learned my talking skills from Mom, but she speaks slower than I do. I am working on it constantly, but it was a bit fast. But the time was 7:21, locked right into that, 5 to 7. I'm very impressed. Another thing she mentioned was she's a math person. And for anybody who doesn't know her, she's a retired math teacher. So that clarifies that. And so lining up tartan angles is something, this dress is perfection. I can't wait for you all to see it, seriously. Her preparation and her organization was excellent. And I really love, in conclusion of this evaluation, I truly love icebreakers when they not only are about the person giving the icebreaker, but it showcased, you did such a great job, Mom, showcasing your personality and who you are and giving us that snapshot. It's fine to just in an icebreaker talk about yourself or your family or your career or your goals with Toastmasters, but I love that you gave us a bit of insight, and we'll see more and hear more in future speeches. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, and thanks, Mom.
Yay. Okay. Dr. Stevens, are you there? You see you muted and no video.
I am here. Yeah, the video is not connecting.
Okay. Timer's
But
report, please.
I can give you the timer's report. Mr. Toastmaster, all our evaluators qualified. Mike at 308, Marty at 253, and Kate most likely around 3 o'clock as I lost track of time. Good job, fellow evaluators, and that is my report, Mr. Toastmaster.
All right, thank you. The votes came up. Everyone, please vote. With this extra screen, there are two things. One, I could vote twice, but I am not. The second thing is with the phone, I don't have to pay attention so much to which screen is encircled by the little green rectangle. I can actually look at the camera and see the person and talk directly to you guys. So I think I'm gonna like this setup. I like the phone above the computer more than I think just using the computer with a camera. I think it's gonna definitely help me and keep it from falling into the pattern of looking down when you're talking. I think that I like this very much. One of the things that we do here at Toastmasters is we try to improve our speech. Leonard Thornton has it on his profile that it's a tool to be sharpened and honed. And one of the things I like about that type of quote, I believe by Mark Twain, is that it's something we all can work on. It's all something that no matter how good you get at it, you can become better and become a real orator. And we are moving into where I hand this meeting over to Dave. And he, as general evaluator, will call on our separate individuals and get the reports. What? You're just shaking your head, sir.
No, you're going to make you're going to call on the reports because sadly
Okay.
I didn't print out the agenda and you are far more ready than I am.
Okay, let me pull this down and go back to that.
I'll be happy to perform my general evaluator duties.
That's fine. It's fine. I chatted you and I asked, so I didn't see a reply. All right, so since we are going to leave Word Master to the end to give everyone an opportunity again to use the word of the day, unite, I'm going to go backwards through the roles, and that would mean Ishmael is up first as our gesture master. And please give us a report on how well we use gestures today.
Thank you very much. I will go ahead and start from the top of the meeting with Lynn used all the gestures that he had during table topics. He used his hands and he used his face. When it came to Tracy, it was just a little bit hard to see her. My screen was showing it a little bit dark. Deb, you did amaze balls. I couldn't read my own handwriting for a second there. If you could maybe put your notes closer to the camera hole so we can get more of your face. But you were very animated in your face and it looked like you kept your smile on, which is one of the most important gestures of all time. And I think sometimes we might forget that because we're actually in a room all by ourselves. And there was a very funny picture. That was a great gesture for the internet vibe. Larry, you really used your face and your hands and everything that you could from the sitting position, and I thought you did a great job. You had a nice voice and you used a pace, which I probably have not been doing, which allowed your gestures and your voice to match up, which was great. Beth, you did an amazing job standing, superb. And it was very similar to real life, the way that you got up there, you presented. And of course, once we get the whole angling thing worked out, your presentation would be extremely standout. Mike, I think you tried with your eyes a little bit, but outside of those, I didn't see a whole bunch of gestures. And Marty, as usual, you went above and beyond, even as far as giving more gestures that we could use while, giving our speeches. And Katie, I like that you leaned in and you gave us eyes every time you said something. So even if you didn't do a whole bunch, the fact that you leaned in and you gave us eyes, I really appreciate that. That's my report.
Thank you, Ishmael. Yay. Okay. Going backwards through the list, our next person is going to be Phil. Phil was grammarian today, and he is going to let us know how well we use our grammar at this point. Go ahead, Phil.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. First off, get that in. So I get a screenshot. I'll do it again.
Backwards, Phil.
Was that backwards? How about this one?
Up. It was too fast.
All right. Let's start off with our Toastmaster. You got tongue-tied for a few seconds there, but you did a good job. I noticed one thing about you. You're very conscientious about your effort in giving this Toastmasters meeting a good meeting. Ryan, you too were conscientious in your grammar, very conscientious. Tracy, kinda, as opposed to kind of. Carol, this has gone on through the meeting, and I also am very guilty of this thing. It's called choppy phrases. An old Toastmaster who also taught Dale Carnegie told me this. Speak in thought phrases. Put your thought together in your brain. Then use your whole sentence in a speech so that you make sense. I am so guilty of that, and I still do it. And this was years ago when he taught me this. And he said, also speak into a mirror. That will help you. And now with the Zoom, we're speaking right at a camera, and we see ourselves. So let's move on now. So choppy sentences using thought phrases. That's what everyone should use. Lenny, okay. Deborah, I wouldn't want to be Ron in your house tonight. You dropped so many INGs on the floor, I don't know how he's going to go walk around without tripping all over them. But I did like nauseating and speculation as words. You also had wanna, coulda, woulda. Mike Licata, you repeated yourself a couple of times, same as Marty, but good job. Larry, also that. It was sort of awkward in that sentence. Couple of restarts, but you handled them well. You could see your show business coming out. When you had a restart, it was handled very smoothly. Didn't even feel like anything was awkward on that. Kate and Beth, again, choppy. Now with Beth, her style was choppy, but I felt it fit the situation. The reason being, I could feel her frustration in making the dress and the undergarments. Oh, I said I would be speaking very choppy if I had all that to do. So the whole idea of the meeting was, and I think that also adds to it, when we're speaking on the camera, is we are a little more choppy than usual. Ishmael, great grammar. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Phil. Before I call on Alexis as Amas, before I do that, Ryan, can you unmute yourself and let us know how many more words you need?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. And thank you, Toastmasters, for going through this with me. I'm going to continue to take screenshots throughout the meeting. All right, so what I know I have, and I will make a final report again at the end of the meeting, but I do currently have join us for open house.
Do you want me to come back to you?
Hour. Yeah, I'm going to summarize, but I appreciate everybody keep holding up the signs occasionally as I'm getting screenshots as often as I can. as you hold up the signs, I'm going to continue taking them, and then at the end, I'll make sure we fill in the blanks, and anybody that can stay on after the 8:30 kicker will finish filling in the rest of them. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. And I can't stay on much after the meeting. I got to get to work. They're waiting on me, so here's mine. Excellent. All right. So we're going to go to our newest member, one of our new members, Alexis. Please give us an hour report for today and how we did.
All right. First of all, I'd like to say I'm glad that we could all unite today. And the speeches were wonderful as usual. Let's see, Ryan, when you were talking about what you will miss most, I couldn't tell if the pauses were just for dramatic effect, but there were a lot. And there's one for me. And Carol, with the change in routine, there were several there's two for me. Katie, when introducing your mom, and there was one, and then one when you were evaluating her, but it was real brief. And Beth had one real brief at the beginning of the speech, and that's all I got.
Thank you, Alexis. Thank you very much. I caught myself saying so at least 4 times during the meeting. I don't know if I went over, got the 5+. And normally, if someone has 5 or more, you just say you have a lot. I hope I did not go over my count of 5 maximum so's during a meeting. I would like to go ahead and speed things up a little bit. We're going to go ahead and go over to Mike Licata, because our word master goes last. So we're going to give him an opportunity to use the word of the day, Dave. Was shaking his head no. Give you an opportunity to use the word of the day, Dave. So go ahead as general evaluator, evaluate myself and the meeting. Yay, Dave.
Good morning, everybody. It's the job of the general evaluator to evaluate the Toastmaster of the day and the evaluators. I'm going to do my best to stick to that script. Thomas, this isn't about you in particular. This is about the situation. This is about Zooming. And what Zoom has done is turned each and every one of us into a floor director at our local TV station. So because I studied broadcasting and television in college, it's all come back to me, these Zoom meetings. So you're backlighting, you're in front of your patio door, and that casts too many shadows on your face. But like I said, don't take it personal, because we're all in this boat together. We've got to learn how to present. We have to turn a corner of our homes into TV studios. The hanging paper on your computer, that was in the shot. But I want to give you credit for being very cheerful this morning, very welcoming. You made all our guests feel welcome, and that's important. And you did a smooth, fine job of introducing the speakers. And I wish to offer you kudos this morning, because you resisted the temptation to speak about what the subject matter was in the speech, because that does influence the voters sometimes, and I have to give you credit for that. We'll now move on to our first evaluator. Our first evaluator was Mike Licata, my boy. I want to salute him because he had plenty of information about the speaker today, and his introduction was thorough, and he did a good job, and we could all be a little bit more clever about learning about what the subject matter and the goal is of the speaker that you are about to evaluate. So very nice, Michael. You had solid points on on how to improve, and you closed by recounting her highlights of the speech. And you may ask yourself, gee, Dave, I think you just whitewashed your own son. But remember, Michael and I have been quarantined together for 45 days, so we're trying to be extra nice to each other. Marty, my first question for you is, do you know the true identity of that ghost looming behind you in the shot? Be careful when you're picking out a backdrop and make sure your backdrop fills the screen. So that backdrop was a little bit distracting, and huddle up with Len Thornton because he has this backdrop thing down pat. You were guilty this morning, Marty, of doing a little bit too much recounting of the speech. The speaker doesn't need to hear the speech read back to them. The speaker needs to know how they can improve the next time they give the speech. So just kind of watch that in the future. At the end, you gave Larry a very nice salute, and that was noted on my part, and that was great. Thanks again, Marty. Katie Banks, Katie. Did you know that Mike and I, as far as I know, have never evaluated each other, but you got right out there and you evaluated your mom. But that works for you and your mom because you're so much nicer than Michael and I. So I wanted to make note of that. Now, your beginning of your evaluation was very warm. I am so happy that you mentioned your mother's camera angle. I thought that was terrific because it was not bad, but there is room for improvement on that angle. And like I said at the beginning of my report, we've all become television floor directors. So try to work on that a little bit. Try to start a little bit early. Look at yourself in the camera and decide if that background works. That's my report for this morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dave. And we're going to go ahead and go over to our word master. Jen, how did everyone do with using the word of the day?
Thank you. We did fairly well today, I would say. Gerald used it, Tom used it, Len, of course, our table topics contestants, Ryan and Carol, both used it, and I had Beth and Alexis use it as well. So, and we even had a couple of people get it in there more than once, Gerald, Len, and Tom with 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Thank you very much. My battery this morning came up and said I have 10% battery left. So apparently, if I die in the next few minutes, it's a battery issue. I believe that was a wonderful meeting. I want to thank everyone for being here.
We forgot one more report.
Oh, there's a report. I forgot.
Yes.
Okay.
The quiz master.
Quiz master.
Oh yes,
So-
quiz master,
so-
and then
and I
Larry,
know
will you take it?
And I'll take it from there.
Okay, so quiz master, and then Larry will take over the meeting for announcements, and then Ryan will get a chance to catch anybody they didn't catch. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
So thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our guests. Just making sure I'm fully compliant, holding my word up, home improvement style. Now that that's out of the way, we will commence with the quiz. How long is Ryan's commute normally?
25 minutes.
25.
Correct, 25 minutes. According to Len, what percentage of people are working at home and like it?
24.
24.
Correct, 24%. What activity is Len really missing?
Drinking.
Bowling. Well, they go hand in hand, and we know that there's a positive correlation that the more that you drink, the better you bowl, which is all the evidence we need that bowling is indeed a game and not a sport. It's anything that you
One
get
without
better
the-
at, the more you drink is not a sport. According to Deb, how many times does the Bible tell us not to fear?
365.
Correct. Which tops did Larry McKenzie work at during the blizzard of '77?
Portage Road, Niagara Falls.
Correct, Portage Road. And lastly, how many members of AM Lockport are in full uniform wearing their AM Lockport Toastmasters polo shirt?
Oh, I am.
Three.
Just one.
I see 3, Dave, Larry, and Len.
Yeah, right.
Mr. President.
There's Jackie.
Thank you very much, Mark. I want to thank Thomas Houdwine for a wonderful meeting this morning as our Toastmaster. Thank you very much. And before I announce our 3 winners this morning, if I may, I would like to thank our guests one more time. Paula Bass, returning as a guest. Paula, would you like to tell us how you enjoyed the meeting this morning?
I enjoyed the meeting, and I'd like to unite with you again next week, but I'll leave you with a thought. Remember, normal is a drier setting, and if you live there, you will take a tumble.
I like that.
Thank you so much, Paula. We also have Shane with us this morning. Shane, how did you enjoy our meeting this morning?
Oh, this was wonderful. No, I love the amount of people here. This is a great time. I love this.
Thank you for joining us. You're welcome
Thank you.
every week, and we'll try and sit in on your meeting also. Thank you very much.
Thank
Dave.
you.
We also have returning guest David Jones. And David, we took over your meeting the other night when we were joining with you. We enjoyed it thoroughly. David, thank you for being with us, and would you like to give us a little reflection on today's meeting?
Always enjoy coming to your meetings and learning from you. Every time I come to one, I'll go back to our board and we'll start implementing some of the things that you all do, and it's really helped us. And yes, there was more AM Lockport at our meeting than there were Queen City members. So I appreciate you all coming and
No, there
put
wasn't.
everybody. There were, and we actually put everybody to work. So it was a good time. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much. One of the things that I would like to do right now is give out our ribbons for today. And it's something that we do at the end of every meeting. And it's basically just letting our members know that we appreciate them, all of them that actually took part in either table topics, evaluating, or speaking. And we do have a result turned in for our table topics this morning. Ryan Flory was our table topics winner this morning. Ryan, congratulations. Oh, thank you, Jen, for showing us the ribbon there. Yes. Also, for evaluator, thanks for getting up this morning, Michael Licata.
Right.
And I must say, we were going to change our evaluation around Kate so that you weren't going to evaluate your mom, but we thought that you have to be together there, so it would be something that would be fun. And without further ado, our speaker of the day, drum roll please, with her icebreaker speech this morning, Beth Banks. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great job, everyone.
Thank you.
Before we adjourn our meeting and then go into what is called our post-toasties, which is after meeting, does anyone have any announcements prior to Kate? Go ahead.
Hey everyone, you may have seen in your email a couple nights ago, or yesterday, when did I send this? Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Starting the social hour. So beginning this evening at 7 p.m. and every Thursday on, we have a Zoom social hour planned. We want to just have fun with it right now. We may add speeches down the road as an opportunity, breakout rooms, to play around with the Zoom tools and give tips to each other just about social media in general, or virtual meetings in general, but also give us more opportunities since we are such a growing club, more chances to speak